meditated.
Musically meditated. Musically meditated.
Welcome to the third episode of Musically Meditated. I'm your favorite podcaster's favorite podcaster. And this is my Serbian sidekick over here, Sretan. What's up, Sret?
What's up?
How you doing today?
I'm good.
I'm glad to hear that. First things first, I want to talk about this new band. The weird thing, I got a story about it. It just happened this past weekend. I was cleaning my truck at my parents' house, and my dad was jamming some XRT like he normally does, which is fine. I like XRT.
Yeah.
It's always a good one to go to. And the song came on. I was like, man, is that like an old B-side, like obscure Zeppelin song? I was like, it sounds really good. And then like my mom came outside. She's like, "Do you hear that song? Is that Led Zeppelin?" I'm like, "I don't know. It sounds exactly like Zeppelin." So we were waiting at the end of it, to see if the DJ would say who it was, and they didn't, of course. I was like, "Shit!" I'm like, who is that band? Like, it sounded pretty good. Like, sounds exactly like Robert Plant. Well, I was talking about it. I didn't Google it or anything. My friend came over. We were going through the radio again. I don't listen to the radio very often, and here's that song again. So I was like, oh, man, let me download Shazam really quick. Like, what is the name of this band? Like, I got to find out. So by the time it downloaded on my phone, song was gone. And they didn't say what it was. I'm like, all right. So I just Googled new rock and roll band that sounds like Led Zeppelin. Like, I just, like, who is this? And I come to find out it's a band called Greta Van Fleet. And it's an EP, a 4-song EP called Black Smoke Rising. So I want to go over that really quick. And it's kind of like a single that everyone should check out.
Made quite an impression.
Right. It did. It did. The single's really good. It's a banger. Like, everybody should check this out. Like, if you are a lover of classic rock and Led Zeppelin, like, check this out. Please check it out. The single is called Highway Tune. And I thought this was pretty crazy, too, and I did some more research. It was released in January, the single, and it was featured on Shameless, the show. I've never watched it. I've heard a ton about it, but that's pretty big, right?
Yeah.
So I was like, okay, wow. And then I come to research this band a little bit more.
Are they local?
They're from Michigan.
Okay.
They're from Michigan.
That counts. We'll take them.
We'll take them. Well, I know. I know it's close to Detroit. I know it's a smaller town. I don't remember the name. But it's 4 kids. And when I say kids, they probably have to be like late teens. And I was like, whoa, this is weird. Like I was expecting maybe something like 25 to 30-year-olds. But these kids, they look like kids. I mean, the lead singer might be a teenager. I don't know. I was really kind of set back by their appearance. Like, they're looking like 70s rockers. I don't know if on purpose, but I'm not going to try to dig too deep into the look, but just listen to the music. And like I said, that single's called Highway Tune, and they had another released on Loudwire, Black Smoke Rising, the title track to the EP. And they just started going on tour in May. So, like I said, the first song that really caught my attention was Highway Tune.
So we now have musicallymeditated@gmail.com has also the same YouTube channel, musicallymeditated.com.
Cool.
Well, Musically Meditated, the YouTube channel. They're all linked up through Gmail.
Oh, nice.
So Joe's homework, what Joe's actually going to do from week to week, and it'll be up in a day or two, is every episode we do, he's actually going to have a playlist of the songs that he was talking about on YouTube. So that way there's no licensing stuff. You just go on YouTube, check it out. Listen to the music that he likes. You could actually comment on there too. That's a good way to discuss the stuff that you're talking about.
Yeah, discuss it, and then, hey, check this out. Leave a comment. Check out this new song, because there's only so many outlets I can go.
Right.
So word of mouth is really powerful, when it comes to new stuff as far as movies and music goes. But back to this Highway single. Like I told you the story, I looked it up and whatnot. And when it starts off, this lead singer sounds exactly like Robert Plant. Like the bellowing screams, like my friend, when we were trying to look for it the second time, he's like, that has to be Robert Plant. I'm like, it's not. Like, I'm telling you, like, I know it's not. And like, it's not a B-side. It's not. And he sounds exactly like him. And he's kind of, that intro track, that single, he kind of has like a flamboyant, flirty, bluesy sound, As far as the music goes, it has a good old school kind of bluegrassy rock and roll tone. And when you listen to this EP a little bit more, I wish they would take more chances like that first track, like be a little bit edgier and heavier, but they don't. And they go into more of like a safe, let's sound like Led Zeppelin thing. So I wasn't a fan of that, but I like the first song and the first single. The second single, Black Smoke Rising, it kind of has House is the Holy physical graffiti kind of approach. Musically, with these guys, I don't want to say they sound like Zeppelin, but they're not the same type of musician skill as Zeppelin. This isn't John Bottom, this isn't Jimmy Page on guitar, John Paul Jones on bass, but they're good and they're solid at what they do, especially for whatever age they are. Like I said, I don't know exactly how old they are, but they definitely deliver. So back to that Black Smoke Rising, decent track. It sounds like something off of Houses of the Holy or Physical Graffiti. With this particular song, they're trying to figure out if they want to make it an acoustic song or a rock song, and they're not pulling it off. If they get with the right producer, maybe in the future, like a Rick Rubin or something, they could have more acoustic or heavy or blend them in together. It's not terrible, but it's not working yet. But definitely one to check out. The third one is called Flower Power. I hear a lot of Zeppelin 3 on this, and then they put in the old organ feel. Remember how Zeppelin did that? John Paul, the bass player, would play a lot of organ for the warm tones, and they throw that in towards the end. And this singer, though, he's the one that shines. Like, if you're a diehard Zeppelin fan, you got to check this EP out. And I found out that they're going to release 4 of these. So 4 tracks EPs to make one album. So that's kind of a cool...
That is kind of a cool thing.
Cool thing you don't hear about. But here's what I'm wondering with these guys, too. When you look them up and you look at how young they are, and you watch some of their live stuff, they pull it off. But I'm wondering if they're like a groomed band from a record label. Like, not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but it's just they're polished. Their look and everything, like good looking young guys just coming in like out of nowhere, So I want to give them the benefit of the doubt. Not that that's a bad thing, but it's like, are they doing 4 songs at a time because they don't have anything?
It'll take away some of the thing that hooks you. Like,
exactly.
Like,
yeah, because like
familiar but
like,
new.
Yeah, like I said, it sucks because I didn't want to look at them because I figured that might ruin it, and I don't know why, but and it didn't. I just expected them to be a little bit more mature. But that first song, if you love Led Zeppelin, check it out. And then the last song on here is the Safari song. It starts off with another awesome shout like Robert Plant, but like in his youth, like early Zeppelin bootlegs that I used to have when I was a kid. Sounds a lot like that, like late 60s. And this one, they do a great job. It has a little bluegrass kind of vibe. It complements the vocals, the vocals and like the delivery of the vocals. He kind of has this weird, like scatty, rappy verbal display. Like, I don't want to say he's trying to rap like hip hop, but it's like a rhyme thing that he's throwing out there in a scatty way. And as far as the drum and bass, like this is where they kind of take a different classic rock avenue. And instead of sounding so much like Zeppelin, it kind of has like the breaks, the stops, and the starts of like a Rush. Like not a progressive feel like Rush, but just like a good stop and go. So, like I said, definitely an EP to check out. If you like to take if you don't like to take chances and just be a conservative classic rock guy, definitely check it out. But then, if you love Led Zeppelin, you just please listen to this little EP. And like I said, they're going to have 4 of them come out total with 4 tracks. And they just went on tour.
Yeah. They're getting a lot of XRT airplay.
They're number 1 on the rock the rock charts right now. Number 1,
right next to Post Malone.
Yeah, right. See, I didn't check. Yeah, right next to Post Malone. I didn't check out Spotify number 1s. We could do that at the end. But when I was researching them, they're number 1 with that song. And it's kind of cool because I know we were talking in the past, like you don't really hear about rock bands anymore. So with Zeppelin, with the total Zeppelin sound, like it's eerie how much this guy sounds like Robert Plant in his youth. So please check out Greta Van Fleet, Black Smoke Rising EP, and Highway Tune is a really good track. Going into the next album you should check out for sure. First, I want to get into the Green Door where I'm recording, and I'm with my man Stratton here. What's going on with the Green Door? Anything this particular week or the week coming up?
Next week, we are going to have a vinyl night. So if this catches your ear, and it's Thursday night, the 26th, between the hours of 7 and 10, I think. When we advertise it, it's going to be 7 and 9, but I'll be here till 10. Come in, bring some vinyls, and get ready to talk shop. We're just going to hang out. If you love music, if you love sharing your opinions about music, if you want to have knowledge dropped on you by Joe, he's just going to be dropping knowledge left and right. Yeah, come in. It should be pretty cool. We'll have one record player. That way people could fight over it. Maybe possibly a marker board. We haven't worked out the logistics. And then we're either going to draw straws to see who plays the music, or we're going to do some kind of rock, paper, scissors tournament. We haven't figured it out yet.
Moving on now, though, I'm going to take a little different approach here with the artist I'm about to introduce you to. I don't know if you've ever heard of him, but it's an electronic. It's like an indie electronic act. It's just one guy, He goes by the name of Fortet. Have you ever heard him?
No.
Before? No. Okay, he started originally in like a post-punk band, and then he started doing electronic music on the side, just to goof around. He's been around for about 15 years. I like a lot of his earlier stuff. It was kind of hard to keep track of him for a minute because he would do a lot of single releases and mixtapes and then take his time. And then he was always very liked and respected in the electronic music world, but he didn't do a lot of interviews, and he was kind of obscure on purpose, it seemed. He was kind of a harder artist to follow. You know, like he was, they have a really neat show on YouTube where they get either a music producer or a certain artist, but usually with a production background, and they throw them in a room of vinyl and they just have them blindfold and pick out different albums, and then from there they use samples from that album and complete a song.
That sounds cool.
It's really cool. I wish I knew the name. We'll have to look that up.
Yeah, we'll find that out.
We'll have to, because you'll have to put it in here. It's a really, really cool thing to watch, and they did that with Fortet, and like his was like the best ever, and like I liked him before that, but I was like, man, this dude is like really, really good.
Is that the nature of the guys that make the electronic music with remixes, that they sort of do they take forever because they're perfectionists to get one song right?
Oh, yeah.
And then they'll release that maybe on SoundCloud or something.
Yeah.
And then months down the line, they'll knock out a second one.
Yeah, they'll do a second
Is
one.
that the nature of it, or do I have the wrong impression?
No, you got the right impression. It all depends on the artist. I know like with a lot of electronic artists too, they have different aliases and different names, so they're not tied to a particular record deal. So like someone I'm going to review because he came out with an album this year and an EP. His name's Aphex Twin. He's one of my favorite electronic musicians, and he's had like 4 different aliases in the last 15 years and was really obscure about releasing this and that because of personal things he was going through, and then the fact that he's just kind of a hermit and a weirdo, it seems like when you really look into him. But yeah, that's all I'm saying, that because of following him so closely. And like he's put out just like random stuff on SoundCloud, and he'll only leave it on there for like 3 months, and then all the fanboys will like download it and then they'll put it up on YouTube. But like, yeah, there's a lot of electronic guys that just release, like you said, random stuff, but probably because, you know, they take their time if they're perfectionists. But yeah, Fortet, and the new album is called New Energy. It starts off with a song called Alp, and it has a really, really cool harp string intro, and it kind of sets a vibe. Like this album has a vibe of finding your inner self, or like you could see this playing in your bookshop, you know, like at low levels, low key, or you could see somebody maybe listening to this in a yoga class, like a yoga instructor. Not every track, but it has like a very calm, soothing vibe to it. It's really chill, really good. So the second song is called 2017, and that starts off with like a really cool, warm analog synth bass, and he's been known for that, especially with his older stuff. So just a real soothing, warm analog bass, kind of like a slower tempo. And what's cool with this song is there's an awesome like Spanish steel guitar sample, and it's really bright, and I really don't like that particular type of instrument. Like just kind of like a, you know, just like a weird jingle, but it works well. And then the drum beat is like a calm boom bap, reoccurring hip hop, slow tempo type of beat. And then like he's able to pull like all of that together, and he does it the best. Like I said, like warm synth bass, kind of a slower boom bap hip hop beat, and this like reoccurring Spanish or Italian, like very picky guitar sound, you know? And what he does the best at too is he layers his samples. With this track, it has a lot of like high and low peaks. And imagine like how could I say this? Like imagine just chilling out on your front porch, like a cool breeze during the fall. Like that's what this vibe is on this track. Or it could also be like chilling in your pool when the sunset's going down, you know, with a beer, but just a really, really laid back vibe.
I like every time you describe this part when you say like when you say like imagine you're this.
Yeah,
it's always good.
Okay, good.
I think one time you said imagine a slinky. I'm gonna totally butcher what you said. It's like imagine a slinky covered in syrup going down a metal staircase or something crazy, and I was like, okay,
right,
that's a perfect description.
Yeah, because like hopefully people, I know people will, they'll check out these tracks when it's linked up to the website and on the YouTube.
Yeah.
But describing it so it sounds interesting, because it is interesting in my opinion, will hopefully make
somebody.
it'll hook you. So
everybody's got their way, their system of listening to music.
Right.
So a lot of the different ways you describe it, sometimes somebody goes, I 100% related to that. Sometimes somebody hears it and goes,
what the hell is he talking about?
What the hell is he talking about? I got to hear this. So either way, it's, It's a good. Yeah,
Right.
I always get excited to know what is he going to say.
That's good. That's good. The third track is called L.A. Trance. Basically, the title of this says it all. It builds up. It has like an introduction with a long build up, and it kind of has a computer or a video game synth vibe intro to it, which is neat, and it kind of draws you. The beat, once again, with like especially the first half of this album, it's warm and thick, and the rhythm is close to something of like a off skip beat heart murmur on this track. At any rate, it goes together, and there's a sample in there that sounds. The samples and sounds in this particular song, it fills the spots, like empty spots. And I think that's what Fortet does best. And it's usually like in this album, there's a lot of like, you hear like bird tweets or, you know, like almost grass moving or wind blowing through trees.
Yeah.
Like it sets like this album has a Caribbean, like I said, like that one track, like in the pool or like kind of just this, you know, bongo Caribbean vacation vibe for sure. Like I said here, like imagine you're in an alien fortress on another planet and birds and bees are like harmoniously in tune chirping with one another. Like that's what this song sounds like. So in my opinion, this is what Fortet does best. And he's able to blend a bunch of samples together. And it sounds like it's almost like making a crazy ass salad, like putting all kinds of different types of vegetables and different types of sauces. And it looks ugly, but it goes well.
Yeah.
You know, so that's what he does. It's intricate stuff. Like you really have to put on your headphones or listen to it on a good sound system to pick that out because it's not aggressive. There's a lot of electronic music that I listen to that is aggressive, but his subtleties are aggressive, but you have to pick it out. You know, like I don't want to say this particular type of electronic music is brain dance. Aphex Twin is, but this could be too if you really, really listen to the little intricate sounds because your brain dances, it's going all over. Like you're really, really paying attention. So that song is awesome. LA Trance, like it has that trance, kind of a deep house vibe. The fourth track is called Temper. This is the one thing with the album I don't like, but I guess you kind of have to do it because he's going through different highs and lows with this, but this is just a transitional track with like soothing sounds, like leading you up to the next one. And the next one is Lush. This is my favorite track on the album. Like this is very upbeat. This is a really cool thing he does too. He blends a harpsichord and like a bongo steel drum rhythm section, like it's going on together. So don't quote me on the instruments, but if you could imagine, like I said earlier, like you're on an island steel drum and then it's going together with a guy playing a harp, like a guitar, like that's the main rhythm. And that's a really cool thing to pull off if you're into music in any way. Like I know that this Fortet guy is a musician himself. He's playing the keys. I don't know if a lot of this stuff is live recordings. I didn't dig into the production of it entirely too deep, but you know, there's something cool going on with this. And once again, with this particular track too, he's just doing a lot of layered warm bass synths, which gives it that calming vibe because his beats are never too aggressive, like I said, but you know, it's just like a 4/4 pattern. And then 6 is Scientist. I know I talked about this maybe on the first episode as a single, because I have it on here. It's the first single that I heard. And this is one that, if you've never heard of Fortet, it's a good introduction, you know, to check him out to see if you'd like it, because he blends his older stuff, his middle stuff, and his newer music. Like I said, he's got a tropical trance. This one, he does some neat layered vocals from some kind of female singer. I don't know who it is. And then he incorporates jazz horns and jazz strings into it. And it kind of has this reoccurring repetitive tribal beat behind it too. So he's really good at blending a lot of different genres, and especially electronically. So yeah, check out Scientists. The 7th track, that's another transition. It's Noise. And the 8th track, I liked it at first, and it had like a neat little jazz drum hip hop beginning, which sets the tone with this album. But then at the end, I felt a little bit disconnected, and it was kind of going all over the place. So I would say up to like track 7, I really like this album. And then it gets a little disconnected. Like
he went a little crazy to see if you're still listening.
Maybe.
To see if you're paying attention.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, sometimes with electronic artists, they might just run out of ideas. That's what I was maybe getting with this track. Like, okay, I want to go this avenue, and like, here's the 7th track. This is just going to warm you up into it. And here's the 8th. I'm going to come in with little jazzy hip hop drum sample, and then get kind of disconnected because right after it gets a little disconnected, he goes into my least favorite track on here. It's extremely repetitive. It's got a trancey vibe, kind of like a, you know what, this song would be good for a DJ set, like if you were DJing for about 2 minutes, you know, because he keeps like re-looping the same thing over and over. So he may have gotten a little bit bored and didn't know what to do. And then track 10, that's another little filler noise track, a lot of MIDI sounds. Track 11 is called Memories, another song I didn't really care for. And then he goes into Daughters, and I did like that. Like he kind of gets back on track, and it's towards the end of the album. It has a really cool rhythm, and it catches you, kind of a dance vibe. But then he starts doing the same sample over and over. That kind of lost me. Like I said, the first half of this album is really, really good.
What was the name of the one? Lush? That you really liked? That was your favorite?
Yes, definitely check out Lush. Planet is the final song against the album closer, and that kind of put me back on track. Like, it's a banger. Yeah. It's a good one. So it's definitely, I know I got a little negative there, like not the second half, but I'd say the last quarter of it. Mm-hmm. But it's a banger. Like, it's a good thing by Fortet. He hasn't put anything out worthwhile, in my opinion, for probably 3 or 4 years. Mm-hmm. And he's got a lot of stuff. So, you know, like I said, if you're into like meditation or just chilling, like good background, like this is a good album, like background music at work. Maybe if you're doing something, it's just a really good background music. And if you like electronic, like it's very upbeat, it's very happy.
Would you say it's complex, the first half of it?
Yeah.
All the layers and everything?
Yeah, it's very complex. Yeah. And then, like I said, just the second half, he kind of loses me, but then at the very end with the song called Planet, he gets my attention. He sucks me back in. So yeah, definitely check out Fortet's new album. I give that a solid 7 out of 10. And I don't think I mentioned Greta Van Fleet's little 4-song EP. That single, I'm giving that a strong 8 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, it's a really good rock and roll song, and it's cool to hear some young kids from Michigan throw down. Mm-hmm. You know, like just a good old rock and roll sound. And like I said, with Fortet, if you like early trance, early techno, kind of instrumental electronic weirdness, like with the hip hop vibe, check it out. He's really, really good. I know Fortet's had some other guys that have rapped. I don't know which rappers have rapped over his stuff off the top of my head, but you could definitely see him collaborating with some rappers. But I'll give the Greta Van Fleet, the 4 EP, I'll give it a 6. I just wanted more rock and roll, like in your face rock and roll songs, like the first track. Like, but others might like the mixture of acoustic, and it's kind of like, what Zeppelin albums do you like, you know? And like the first song is definitely Zeppelin 1 and 2. Then I would say the second 2 are a mixture between Physical Graffiti and Zeppelin 3, and then the 4 songs, like, I don't know, Zeppelin 4. So it just, they give you that variety, but I would like to see them take a chance too. Like, okay, we obviously sound like Led Zeppelin. How can we branch off of that?
Right. I wonder what the next, what the next 4 songs are going to be, what they're going to be like.
It's going to be interesting.
What if they end up, are you going to be even more suspicious of them? Because it seems like you like them, but you're suspicious.
I am suspicious. It just.
What if the next album is like, almost like it reminds you of some other classic rock band? Are then you going to be like, all right, something's up here.
Something's up. I did do a little research. The singer, the bass player, and the guitar, they're brothers. I don't know their age. They had an original drummer, but he left and they got a new guy. And that's just kind of weird to me. Like, why would you leave? And it's just, I'm just being a skeptic about these guys. I don't know. I mean, they're so polished looking that they could have, like the singer looks like he could come off of The Voice or, you know what I'm saying? So someone's got a hold of these kids and they're cleaning.
They're helping a little.
They're helping. So that's okay. Like, I don't know what record label they're on, but regardless of the way someone looks or what their album cover says, the first thing I heard was that single, and it got my attention. So you got to check them out. So if you like rock and roll, definitely check that song out. And then with Fortet, that's probably going to be one of my most favorite electronic releases. Like I said, there's Aphex Twin that I'm going to check out. Well, I have been listening to it, but as far as getting into it review-wise, it'll be coming up in the future podcasts. Thirdly, I want to move on to a duo, and it's pretty neat. The bass player is essentially the lead guitarist, but he has an overdrive tone to it, and he plays keyboards. And then the drummer is the vocalist, and the band is called Death From Above, and they used to be called Death From Above 1979, but they just dropped the 1979 and went back to their original name. This is a really good album. It just came out, I think, early September. And like I said, the bass player, keyboardist, his name is Jesse Keeler, and the vocalist's name is Sebastian Granger. They didn't even announce that they were putting this out until like weeks before it was released. And they originally formed as a band, as a two-piece, where the one guy would just write bass and the other guy would just write drum parts and make it simple. And they were going to go over it together with intricate guitar playing. But they ditched that entire idea and they came out with their first release that got my attention. It didn't get my attention when it came out because I think it was too obscure. But it came out in 2002. And the name of that was Heads Up. If you're going to check out Death from Above 1979, check out the first EP, Heads Up. But I'm going to go into this first track, and it's called Nomad. It's the opening track. The song has powerful drums, and imagine just like explosives, like just a really, really good beat. And like I said, the bass acts as the lead guitar because there's so much overdrive. So it's a really, really neat thing. They're just a two-piece, you know, so if you like the White Stripes, like there's a White Stripes vibe here, okay, a little bit. There's definitely a strong Muse vibe, especially with the singer, the drummer who sings. Like his earlier stuff, they had like a really dirty, punkish garage vibe, you know, from that first EP, like from 02.
Is that overdriven bass? Is that a common?
No,
can you rattle off any other bands, or is it kind of a
you know what?
a rarity?
It's not a rarity, but it's a rarity to have a bass player take the lead spot. Like the best way I could describe a bass player that used that took the leading role that stuck out was Cliff Burton from Metallica, you know, and he was on their first 3 albums. He was the first one to, I don't want to say he was the first. He was one of the first. He was one of the first to approach the bass under the spotlight, so to speak, you know, like it doesn't just have to be the rhythm music, you know, like the rhythm musical instrument, like you can stick out with it. But the guy that really brought the whole overdrive bass field to the rock world was the Who's bass player, John Entwistle. Even I remember watching stuff about Pete Townsend, and Pete Townsend would say like he would fill up the room with his sound. He's like, if it wasn't for him, we wouldn't be the Who, because he's like, he'd always turn louder than Pete Townsend and stuff. But if you ever watch, they called them Thunder Thumbs or something, or Thunder Fingers. Like John Entwistle was a bad dude. But yeah, as far as distortion and bass goes, I'm glad you asked that question, because I am a bass player. And my sound, like for like the last 10 years, I play aggressively and I always like the overdrive sound. But here's what's hard, and this is what they pulled off with this album. The production is really over the top on this. It's super clean, but they did a great job at picking up the overdrive bass, but with the bass behind it, because especially live, or when you do that with the bass guitar, you get the overdrive sound, but you don't get the layer of bass behind it. You know, so it kind of blends in with the guitar, and it's kind of hard to pick out. There are parts with this album where it's like, is that a guitar or is that a bass? Which is kind of cool, you know, like, and I think I would know more than anyone, but there are some times on this I'm like, I don't know, but I do know when it gets real thick, you know, like they bring the sauce with the production, especially with the drums. Like with this first track, he kind of mixes like Black Flag chords on bass, but then he's got crazy like Geddy Lee from Rush noodling. And then, like I said, you definitely hear like influences of John Entwistle or a Cliff Burton. But the vocals, see, they were kind of like an obscure two-piece that nobody knew about years ago. They came back in 2011 and released some mediocre stuff. But with this, it's like they sat down with someone and they're bringing all those different influences and they're putting it in like a pop rock and roll outfit. Because like the production, I can't say it enough, it's almost too slick, but it's good for them, you know? So getting back to the vocals, this is where I hear the Muse at the most. Like, if you like the Muse, check out Death from Above. Outrageous Now is what it's called. And it came out in September. But the second song is the single. There's a video for it on YouTube. It's called Freeze Me. This has like a very, very catchy pop opening with a piano sample. And this kind of like this piano sample has like a pinball machine kind of feel to it. It's catchy. It'll get your attention. I could see this being on like a car commercial or something, you know? Like it's cool. It gets your attention. And then here we go. It has like a very cool, classic, slick, distorted bass guitar breakdown. Like these guys, like on this, they have like a really good rhythm. And then they go back into that early album, like I'm telling you about, like kind of like a thrashy punk rock vibe, you know, like kind of an aggressive thing, but they pull it off. Like it's kind of a little ADD rock, you know, but with this singer and his choruses, it's like he can really sing. Like he's got a, like I said, like the Muse. I just keep hearing the Muse. I'm going to keep saying that, but whatever. The third song, the third song is called Caught Up. This is my most favorite track on here. You can tell this one has like like a sexy flow to it. This one you'll probably see at your local strip club being played in the near future. I just it has like a stripper dancing on a pole vibe to it, like for sure. So don't get too excited over there sweating.
I'm good.
Okay. But the drum beat. Here we go again. It's got a cool slow dance party vibe, like a hip hop vibe, slide bass and whatnot. I could listen to this on a good system in your car or on headphones, and it's a head bobber. Like it's a good track. So, like I said, the strippers will love it for sure. But then like them going into their regular fashion, they just take this crazy like 180-degree turn, and it turns into this like fast prog rock ADD moment, and it kicks ass. And then they go right back into the super slick beat with the super slick bass and the awesome melody and the awesome chorus. And like I said, for two guys, they really pull this off. And another thing, the bass player plays the keyboards, and kind of like with the quartet, he's layering down these really cool, warm analog fillers, which they never did in the past. Like in the past, it was kind of in your face plummeting, but with cool hooks. But with this album, it's like that's filling the void, and then the singer's able to really pull off catchy choruses. I don't know if he's planning it out this way or what he's doing exactly, but like he's delivering. The fourth track is Outrageous Now. It's the title track of the album. This has like, I don't know, I'm fed up with the world and what's going on kind of vibe, which, I guess a lot of people may be, but not really feeling it. 5, Never Swim Alone. This is a short song. It kind of has a repetitive beat, but the distorted bass and the layered synths, I'm kind of noticing like the same vibe here, a little stagnant, but it's a good tune with, like a cool shot along chorus that you'd sing in your, shower or something. The sixth song is called Moonlight. This song is a jam. This is probably my second favorite song that you should check out for sure. So definitely check out. But no, Moonlight's a really good jam. It has, like I said, I don't know if this is a guitar or a bass being played on the high end of the bass, but it has a very siren sounding guitar intro, and then it goes into another like sliding distorted cool bass riff with nice breakdown drums. Like on this track, the singer sounds his best. He's going with the drums and the rhythm of the drums, and like this song is just like a really good rock and roll jam. So I'm just gonna leave it at that. Lift some weights to this shit. There's no screaming. Like that's one thing with this album. Like this isn't a scream type of thing. It's a really good commercial original rock album that has a poppy vibe because the singer can pull it off. And you could tell like somebody sat down with them. Like you usually think bands that are this old, especially if they're a duo, like the older they get, it might get weak or it might start to suck, but not with these dudes. And I did see them open up for Incubus and Deftones in like 2013. And it was cool. Like they could pull off the sound like, of the distorted bass and only the drummer thing. The eighth track is called All I See Is You and Me. It's catchy. I could definitely see this on the radio. With the lyrics, he's got a really, really neat like reverb thing going along. And a lot of good sing-along moments here. A lot of hooks, a lot of chorus hooks. The ninth track is Never Forever. Awesome bass line. Lyrics have like a Bowie 70s era. That's a good way to describe this guy. Like it's there, and I don't want to say he's David Bowie, but there's a little Ziggy Stardust in there with him, like a little late 70s, 80s new wave.
The influence can be inferred.
Yeah, that I'm hearing that especially on this song, Never Forever. This 10th track is called Holy Books. This has like I'm an atheist, I hate God vibe. So whatever. That's just what I get from the chorus. Yeah. But musically, it got my attention because it had kind of that aggressive old school Death from Above sound. So, more power to him. Good song. Yeah, that's really all I got to say. That was the last one. The production on this, like just going through it again, it's really polished. It had me thrown off for a second because I was kind of expecting stuff, maybe going back in the older direction because their last few releases was kind of weak. So I was kind of expecting maybe like their first EP, Heads Up, just a little bit more aggressive and throwing back because that's what a lot of people got into in the first place. It's definitely...
It was a pleasant surprise.
Yeah, it was. It was like my first listen, I really liked it. And then my second listen, I'm like, man, this is maybe a little bit too poppy and a little bit too polished for me. But then third listen, I listened to it on my headphones. I was like, this is really good. Fourth listen, I listened to it on my PA system, which is loud as shit. And it was really, really good. Like the drums, like the production on the drums, it's so crisp. It's a little bit over the top. Like it almost, is it a drum machine or what? Like it bangs, and then I just think it's a really neat thing to do with bass, making it the standout instrument, because there's been so many times I've played with drummers where we don't have a guitarist there, and I've always had a feel for the distortion and a love for a distorted bass. So it's like these dudes just kind of push the envelope and make me think of like all kinds of different things I could maybe do, you know? So like I said, their last release, well, they came back in 11. That release was weak. This one just like has a really, I don't know, it has like a good funky fitness to it, polished production, and then with the hooks. So if you're just a casual listener to rock and roll, I would definitely check this out. And like, if you like the Muse, this is for you. If you like the White Stripes, this is for you. And if you like some old school punk, you know, check it out. There's a little bit of punk in there. So I give this album, I don't know, a 7 out of 10. I'll give it a solid 7. Like the one track that I do like the most, what is it called again? Moonlight. I would give that a solid 8. And Caught Up is the best. Like that's a good, I'd probably give that a 9. And then I'd give the Moonlight, I don't know, 8. But I like this album. I like what these guys are doing better than another thing too. How about any live shows? Shrutin, you said you're going to go to one with your brother?
Yeah, the first episode you mentioned, somebody else is here on October 30th. Some other band. Oh, that King Cruel.
Oh, yeah. You know what? His second single I didn't care for. We could get into the singles. I didn't care for that single at all. But what did he say about King Cruel?
He completely ignored that he's going to be there because we're going to go see Arcade Fire.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, I think locally we're going to go see the cover band in 2 weeks. That same weekend. Arcade Fire is coming on a Monday.
Okay.
But American English is going to be playing here at the Art Theater. They're the Beatles cover band.
I've heard a lot of good things about them.
They're awesome.
Are they good? Like what era Beatles are they jamming?
They do 3 costume changes. So they do 3
really?
eras. Yeah. So they do 3, and then they'll usually do. They'll come back and play like 1 or 2 piano tunes in the encore. But they've been the last couple of years doing a lot of festivals, like summertime festivals.
Okay.
So it's cool that the owner of the Art got him in here. He's actually had for the month of October, and then I think first or second week of November. It's a bunch of good cover bands.
Really?
So they got. I think the last one's going to be Rolling Stones.
Oh, cool.
Posters are out there. They've already had an AC/DC, I think, last Friday, and
then
before that it was
Rush.
Was Rush?
Yeah, I walked in there for a second just to check out the acoustics, and it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. No. You know, I'd like to see maybe some more original bands there, but that's cool. Like
that's the next step.
Is it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think he wants to know, and I think he already knows that there's a demand for these cover bands. And I've talked to a couple other people, and regionally there is a high demand for cover bands.
Right.
What we're trying to figure out, not we. I guess why do I can't include myself in this shit?
You're including yourself in my life all the time, and I'm sick of it.
To know what the interest is like on a larger scale, and by large I mean it's still small. So like, can you get 200 people to come watch some original music? I think the demand is. I think people would be curious. Just depends on what bands come in, how it's advertised, all that stuff.
That's the age-old argument. I mean, you'll have one person tell you this or tell you that. I think when you start to get into like your 30s and you're playing, okay, I'll just throw that out there. Like you're getting into your 30s and you want to do music as a living, you better have some covers because people want to hear certain songs or a certain genre. It just is what it is. I'm not really into that right now, you know, but there are good cover bands, and I think that is a really good idea. You know, with these guys, because what's the Zeppelin cover band?
I don't know any of their names. I just know American English's name.
Okay. I need to catch up on that. But there's a Zeppelin cover band that's always playing around here, and they're really good.
Yeah.
I think they may have opened up the first night that place opened up. I should remember their name. But at any rate, there is a really good cover band in this area that I like a lot. They're called Positive Vibe Technicians. I know the drummer, Luke Greener, and I know the guitarist, Wes Goodpasture. And I know the bass player, Greg Guzman. And I'm not saying this from a bias standpoint, but they're a really good cover band. They do like some Rage Against the Machine. They'll do a lot of Sublime. They'll do a lot of old classic rocks. And Wes is like a really, really good guitarist and a perfectionist. And they work hard at it. I watched them a lot more last year, like last summer, because I wasn't working at the time. I was injured. And this summer I got to see them twice, and they were really good. Like they played the Hobart Fest at the Bricky Bowl. But you could usually catch them at Franklin House. They play a lot at Franklin House.
Okay.
But they're definitely quality. And the singer, I forget his name, he's a really, really good singer. You know, he could pull it off. But yeah, cover band stuff, like I said, like you're in your 30s, you want to make money, you know what I'm saying? Like that's a good avenue.
Do you think that the region, because we both decided when you started doing this show that's going to be region talk.
Region talk, yeah.
What is the musical vibe around here? We are next to Chicago, and that's another debate. People are saying that the Chicago music vibe is kind of on the dead side. I 100% disagree, but I'm not a musician.
Right.
I'm just I can be considered a casual fan. I love live music. I'll go watch anything, but I'm not on the level you are of looking things up. And as far as live music and stuff, there's a ton of venues, but
there are. I think with the internet, it has its pros and its cons. There's more pros for looking for music, but then again, I think it kind of segregates things by genres, and when it does that, it puts things into a certain scene.
Yeah.
It's been going on forever, but maybe some of the younger kids and the younger adults are maybe a little bit more focused on the scene instead of the quality of the music. So that might be why people are like, oh, it's kind of dead. Well, there's so many different genres and there's so many different scenes. Everybody's into their own thing and it kind of waters it down.
Right.
Maybe a little bit,
yeah.
And then I just think hip hop is so popular and it's so easy to do. And I love hip hop. I think that's kind of taking away from the live music scene in general, because you and I can start a hip hop group right here, right now. If I got some decent beats and you know how to produce,
I'll do it.
And you ready?
No.
Right. Spit some flows at the green door. I think it's just so much easier to create that kind of music, and it's really popular right now.
Mm-hmm.
And I was talking about that too. You're saying live music in the area and stuff, and a band that I want to promote that's going to be playing here on October 27th at the Silver Bullet in Crown Point is Handsome Prick. They're my friends, and they're awesome. And they play grindcore, just aggressive grindcore. They got a new album coming out this year. I'll definitely bring them on.
That's a Friday.
Oh, is it?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'm definitely going to be there, so everybody should go. It's like a Halloween gig.
Yeah.
But, yeah, Handsome Prick. It's aggressive. It's grindcore, death metal. Doesn't hold back. I was lucky enough to hear some of the new tracks, and it's really good stuff. And I'm not saying that either from a bias standpoint because they're my friends, but it's really good stuff. So go to Silver Bullet on the 27th of Friday and check out Handsome Prick. But what I'm getting at is I was talking to the drummer at Handsome Prick, Brad Vanderzee, and they went to Riot Fest. I was like, hey, blah, 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 who'd you see? And he was into seeing Danzig. And then I'm like, did you see Wu-Tang? And he brought up a good point because others have talked about this with me, and I agree with it. He's like, saw a couple tracks, but, rap sucks live. And it's like, you know what? It kind of does sometimes. Like, I like it.
Rap is tough live.
It is.
If you're trying to hear, if you're not already kind of obsessed with that group or that person, it's tough. If you don't already know all the words, it's, to me.
Right.
And
this is all opinion, yeah.
Yeah. And it's tougher.
It
But
is.
I think we talked about this before. I saw Kendrick Lamar a couple years ago,
did
not
you?
knowing anything. My brother took me, and we were in the middle of the crowd towards the front, and halfway through the place, that energy's. I mean, I was already hooked because the crowd was awesome. Everybody knew every song.
Where'd you see him at?
At I want to say Congress. It's the older theater that I'm not even sure if it's open or it was closed and open again, or the remodeling, or it's like
Chicago.
a death trap. It wasn't Chicago.
Was it Chicago Theater?
It wasn't Chicago Theater. It was. I want to say it was Congress.
Congress?
I'm
Yeah,
like
they did close the Congress
90%
down
sure.
and they brought it back up. Yeah.
Then it's that one. It's
Okay.
there. And I was like, it was great. It was awesome. The crowd even knew like the obscure
I love Kendrick.
remixes
love
that
him.
he did, like his what do you call it when you just like knock out a few
mixtape?
They knew his mixtape songs.
Yeah.
And it was awesome. I was jumping around with everybody else. It was one of
Cool.
the best hip hop shows I've ever seen.
Right. I think it, and when I say it sucks live, I should pump the brakes on that. Outside, it's very, very hard to pull off. Inside, in like a place, like a smaller place like the Congress that holds maybe 2,500 people,
Yeah.
perfect. Or even, if you're a big time fan, like if you see them at the Metro or, just a smaller venue, you could pull hip hop off. But outside, very difficult to pick up.
I think a small venue. I have also seen like 4 or 5 hip hop shows indoor in a small venue. I went to Reggie's once. And
Okay.
I honestly, people were going crazy, and I fell asleep. But that's also, I'm not a crazy hip hop fan.
Right.
Like somebody has to in my face enunciate every word so that I properly understand it. And I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
So I might not be the best judge of how good a show is. But I've seen some terrible, terrible shows.
Some terrible hip hop shows.
Yeah, terrible hip hop shows.
I haven't really been to many. I've seen Wu-Tang Clan a couple times. It was great, but I'm a diehard Wu-Tang fan.
Right.
Always have been. You know, I know Method Man wasn't there, so that kind of sucked, but still it was great. And then I saw Immortal Technique, and that was at the Abbey Pub probably 10 years ago, and that's another he's another kind of obscure. He's like political hip hop, Rage Against the Machine times a million on steroids. So if anybody's never heard of Immortal Technique, definitely check him out. Like he needs to bring something new. It's been a long time. It's been almost 10 years, but
Yeah.
he's a really, really good rapper. Very, very controversial. He says what he wants to say. He's not scared, but like you said, it was a small place. I loved him, rapping along with him kind of deal, but you know.
I frequently talk about the Tiny Desk concert, the YouTube channel that NPR does, where they do like mostly acoustic shows, but they actually have they just had Chance the Rapper there, I think a month ago.
Okay.
But it's mostly on, like MTV's Unplugged, acoustic, whatever. But people do electronics. They have anyways, I can't remember any band names. But I like when they have hip hop bands on there because it's not loud. It's super intimate. It's like a tiny place. And so when these guys start knocking out these lyrics, you know exactly what they're saying. That's actually I was just newly introduced a few months ago to Run the Jewels,
right.
Even though my brother's been talking about them for a couple years now, but I'm always like, yeah, whatever. But they were on there, and I listened to their set that they did. I think they did 3 songs, possibly 4, but it was so awesome. You sit there and you watch them do the whole thing. You watch them. They know when they mess up, even if you don't realize it. They know when they catch up. They made a big boo-boo in one of their performances, and the dude went back later when they were done with the song. He goes, I screwed up that last thing, and he came back and he re-rapped that one. It was just...
Which one was it, LP or was it Killer Mike that messed up?
Killer Mike messed up.
Damn
and
it,
he came back. And it was...
He's a good rapper.
I read the comments, and they were saying that they're both awesome, rappers, but that Killer Mike is usually more relaxed.
Yeah.
But for that little event, he seemed a little less relaxed. For whatever reason, I don't know. They do a lot of performances. You don't know. With the way that they rap, I don't know how they don't get tongue-tied all the time.
All the time, yeah.
I'm getting tongue-tied sitting here with you talking.
Yeah, I know.
Chance the Rapper was really good. They had every hip-hop artist in there just knocks it out clean. And so it's cool. I wish that they had more. And I guess people that are hardcore hip hop people will probably get mad at me for saying that I want more acoustics, and more strip it down and have that person almost like spoken word, almost like the poetry slams,
right?
That kind of rhythm of performance. I love that shit.
I do too. That sounds like that's a really good idea. And with a smaller, I just think when there's so many people around and the vibe, it's hard to hold back. I mean, it's a live show.
It is. It's like one of those crazy churches where people get all fired up. It does.
That's what all music does. That's why live music's awesome, because you could really
for sure
forget about whatever's going on in your regular life and get caught up in the moment. And it's kind of like what the crowd gives to the artist gives back to the crowd. It's this crazy pull and tug, or tug and pull, if you want to say and it's really prevalent for metal shows or hardcore punk shows, that old element of jumping on the stage and jumping off
getting
or grabbing
crazy.
the mic and getting crazy. People might think that's silly, which it kind of is, but you can't. It's a good show when you can't control yourself. There's just no way you can hold back. And I got scars and torn ligaments to prove it on my half, which is really ignorant.
Last year I went to go see, I think at the Metro, I went to go see Gogol Bordello.
Okay.
And they're they proclaim themselves a gypsy punk band, but they're crazy high energy. And it's still, if we're going to say bucket list, I feel silly saying bucket list, but I want to go see a proper punk show, a loony one, not one that I'm just sitting in the background and, it's noisy, people are yelling and I'm not into it. I need to be in it, so I get the proper feel of everything. But Gogol Bordello had that, and they came the dude doesn't wait. He just, as soon as he walks on that stage, if somebody plays any instruments, it's on. He just goes to 10 immediately, and he's at 10 the entire time.
Like Old Bad Brains, if you ever watch Old Bad Brains stuff, they're an old punk band from D.C., all Rastafari guys. Band in D.C. is a great punk record. I mean, if you don't know about that album, you're doing something wrong, in my opinion. But if you watch any of their old YouTube clips, like their energy level is just it's crazy. And like same with Old Minor Threat, crazy energy level. So I know
I like that.
Yeah, and Converge, that'd be a good one to pop your cherry to. I'll take you to a Converge show.
You talked about them before.
Yeah, I
Converge.
Converge.
I listened to them.
Did you like those singles? Did you like it? Good, good.
I liked them.
Yeah, that new album's supposed to be coming out anytime. I know they're doing like a huge marketing thing for it, and those 2 singles that came out, I'm really pumped, but yeah, Converge Jane Doe is definitely an album that I'm going to bring a guest on, like a guest here, and we're just going to talk about that album for like a half hour. Like, that's how important that album is to me in my life, and I know others too. Like,
yeah,
that's an important album from head to toe. But yeah, live musically, like I said, I'm going to definitely check out Handsome Prick there at the Silver Bullet on the 27th, Friday, and then in November, I think it's the 25th, I got Morrissey tickets.
Nice.
So,
well, good luck. I hope everything lines up in your life and his life
And
so that you're
Morrissey's.
able to, hopefully he doesn't have a mood swing.
Right.
You could actually come see him.
Hopefully no one's serving meat, and hopefully he gets out of bed, because his last single is he just spent the day in bed. And I actually did that yesterday. I just wanted a relaxing day. It was my day off. I was like, well, if Morrissey's singing about it, I could do it.
Everyone deserves it.
Everybody deserves a day in bed, and only Morrissey can sing about it.
That's right.
That's right. So yeah, I'm looking forward to go see the Moz, because he's getting older and getting younger, just like all of us, and he's just an awesome artist. I love him. Maybe I'll get an article of his clothing. I'll rush the stage and bring it back. People do that and they frame it
Of his
Yeah.
or anyone's?
of Morrissey.
Really?
Yeah, they try to tear his clothes off, and then they keep pieces of his shirt and they frame it.
I didn't know they would do that. I thought they would be like insanely respectful of him because he's so sensitive.
He is sensitive, but he gets caught in the moment.
You know how I see it? I used to think like, oh man, he's so sensitive. He's always canceling shows. He is always like real moody. But you know what? He probably acts the way the average person would act if they were as popular as he is.
Right,
Like
right.
where a normal, like you think 7 days a week, how often are you actually in that good of a mood?
Right.
And what if like
is
a
the-
regular part of your life was like you're walking down the street going to get a cup of coffee or a sandwich and somebody just rips a sleeve off of your jacket or something crazy, or just like,
Well, they only do that during the live shows. I don't know if that's ever happened to him when he's trying to go get a latte.
Hey.
No animal in the latte.
That's a fair point.
Right? Like he probably gets almond milk. He's not getting regular milk in his latte because he's Morrissey. But yeah, it would be interesting to live his life. But he is the Pope of Mope for a reason. Like, he's always waking up on the wrong side of the bed, and that's what's cool about Morrissey, because no one's ever been a successful pop singer that's singing about depressing moments and dismal times, but that's what he does. But then like
That's what he does.
and then he lays it out in like an Oscar Wilde sarcastic vibe too, and it's just genius. I love him. I love Morrissey. So, and the Smiths, like, you can't, like, I don't even listen to indie rock because all I gotta do is listen to the Smiths.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some out there that I'll check out, but they lay down the foundation. And when I talk Morrissey, I gotta talk Glenn Danzig, because both of their egos are extremely entertaining to me, and I love both of them and their music, like all of it. And my friend was telling me he took video footage of Morrissey at Riot Fest, and they took it down. Not
Morrissey or Danzig?
I'm sorry, Danzig.
Yeah.
He took video recording of Danzig at Riot Fest, and Danzig has dudes. I'll just put it like that. Danzig has dudes that go on YouTube to look for uncopyrighted live footage, and they delete it. And not only did they delete it, YouTube sent him a thing saying, "Hey, if you do this again, we're deleting your YouTube forever." So Danzig's got some pull. Don't mess with Danzig.
Doesn't mess around.
He doesn't mess around. Like, Morrissey might be a dick and make sure you're not serving meat and be 45 minutes late to Riot Fest, but if you put a live recording up of him, he doesn't have dudes
Yeah.
to delete it. Like, that's crazy. Think about that for a second. Like, he has his own working staff that goes on YouTube
Actively looking for people that will
to report
irritate him
to report.
Yeah.
So that's Danzig's ego. But yeah, finishing up here, I did want to talk about Kendrick Lamar and J. Cole. I remember from the second podcast, and I did want to talk about John Wayne rap album too, but we'll leave that for the next one because, like I said, J. Cole came out with an album in December of 2016, and then Kendrick dropped one here in the spring, and I think they're both on the same playing field, and I kind of want to go at who's better, him or, in my opinion, which album's better, like their last three, because I think they're very important to hip-hop, and I like them both equally, and then shine a little light on a guy like John Wayne, who's a really good rapper.
Yeah.
and a really good producer. So I know that that's coming. That's about it. I'm musically meditated.
That's right.
I'm musically meditated.
That's right.
I'm musically meditated.